Hey, we had to take a quick break there because of the 2-hour mark. Vivian, want to explain what we've been talking about while we exported some audio and set up for the second half?
Yeah, so I've been doing some thinking. So, for one thing, we know Rosa was among those killed, don't we? Don't we?
We do. Sorry, I'm vibing over here.
And Rosa didn't leave until 1. So, we know that the killings couldn't have happened in that 2400 to 1 a.m. window that we've been led to believe. And we don't have in Red Truth anything that would say that they did.
Right, they just kind of concluded that.
Yeah. They just tried really hard to make us believe it without saying it.
We do know it had to have occurred before 3.
Yep.
I don't think there's any way around the truth about Battler's Room. Nothing untoward going on there. Do you want to point out the very, very interesting loophole you discovered?
Yep. So, there's a couple. So, for one thing, it could well be that the killer entered in that time period between midnight and 1 a.m., just as Erica suggested, but that the killings didn't occur until later. That was 100% possible. And indeed, it would seem something like that would have had to happen if what she's saying is honest. But I think the other more interesting one, we get Red Truths that Erica would have seen if anyone came in. We don't get Red Truths saying that she didn't. She could very well have seen the culprit walk right in, do the murders, and walk out. And she didn't say that she saw no one.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. And honestly, that seems like the most compelling thing of this one is that she probably did see whoever actually committed the crime here. I gotta admit, you were completely right. I was wrong to get on the Natsuhi train. I thought this was like it's supposed to be like a layup to show you like, okay, here's how this will all play out, now that we're in EP5. But
if it was, it would have been pretty disappointing, right? Because there would have been nothing for any of the stuff that Natsuhi would have been fantasizing to cover for herself on that case that would have made sense. And no clear motive either. For her to kill off her own kid and do all these things. And the whole story arc would have been fabricated there. Mm-hmm. It would have been just,
a bit of a
why would she do it?
Fair enough.
And if that was the level of reasoning we should be doing, then effectively we'd be just guessing.
Fair enough.
So that was where I came from.
You're smart. I'm glad I have you here. I'm glad one of us has to have the big things going on. And while the other one does silly voices. Guess who that one is? Also, comment section. I'm pretty sure I already asked, but give me this banger, please. This is making me do the dance. You know the one.
Nope, it's all over. It's been determined with the Red Truth that none of the remaining people in the dining hall left that room until 1 a.m. In other words, alibis have already been proven for everyone except Natsuhi.
Now, for this, did we determine who everyone in the room was?
No.
We're just kind of told. We do have the Red Truth up now, by the way. We're not going to spend too long trying to sort this out in real time just because it kind of ruins the pacing. But at least right now we're kind of led to believe that maybe a person we were led to believe was in that room isn't there.
Yeah, could be someone wasn't in the dining hall but was in the mansion.
Everyone in the mansion besides Natsuhi has an alibi.
I don't believe that for a fucking second.
I do. I just believe someone we think is in the mansion isn't in the mansion.
Isn't in the mansion.
Someone we think is in the mansion isn't. Or left. Oh, did you see the teeth thing happen?
Yep.
Whoa! All right. Hey there.
Well done, Erica and Berncastle. You've fully proven that the crime was impossible for everyone except Ushiromi and Natsuhi.
They didn't prove
Damn
for
it, it's
Kinzo.
spreading again.
Huh?
I keep on mispronouncing her name even when I'm not doing her voice where I mispronounce her name.
Got it. Yes.
Why don't I start reading aloud from the verdict? At 2400 on October 4th, 1986, the defendant, Ushiromi Natsuhi, left before the others while pretending to return to her room to sleep, and murdered George, Jessica, Rosa, and Genji one after the other during the 1 hour period before 1 a.m.
No.
That can't be true.
Yeah, this in particular is very egregious.
Because Rosa was not dead then.
Let me tack something on. Due to circumstantial evidence, include the murder of Kraus, okay?
Yeah, that's right. In this situation, it's unthinkable that anyone except Natsuhi could kill Kraus. A revision to the verdict. During the hour before 1 a.m., Kraus, George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, and Genji were killed one after another. It's only possible for any of these murders to have taken place between 2400 and 1 a.m. The only person without an alibi during this time was Ushiromiya Natsuhi. From this point forward, the defendant will be treated as the true culprit. Furthermore, because it has been fully proven that the crime was possible for humans, Beatrice, Endless Witch, this Court of Illusions hereby denies your existence. You'll be given a chance to plead your case, but can you prove an alibi for Natsuhi? Or can you prove that it was possible for someone other than Natsuhi? If you can do that, Natsuhi will stop at being one shade short of absolutely guilty, and the denial of your existence will be put on hold for this game.
If Natsuhi had an alibi, Beato would have shown it long ago. In fact, wasn't the whole point of that trap to make her lose her alibi?
Even if her alibi is not proven, I will believe in Natsuhi's innocence. No matter how much you try to pin your fake truth on her. I am the true culprit. Natsuhi is innocent, even without any proof. The truth is known only by the master of the night on this island, Beatrice the Golden. I am Ushiromiya Natsuhi. Now that my husband has passed away, I am the head of the Ushiromiya family. My determination will not bend, no matter how you try and humiliate me. Why, you ask? Is it because Father gave me permission to engrave the family crest? It is because Father gave me permission to engrave the family crest of the one-winged eagle into my heart. How do you intend to disprove the existence of this honor with your evidence and your alibis? You cannot. The Ushiromiya family crest engraved into my heart is immortal.
I think maybe the thing here is that just the conspiracy of the adults in the dining room is much larger than we thought.
Maybe.
Now that Natsuhi and Beatrice had practically been placed on the guillotine, they cried out with all the strength of their determination. However, that did nothing but bring a cold smile to Lambda Delta's face. Erica had constructed a truth that Lambda Delta could accept. And no one could construct a more convincing truth to deny Erica's. In that case, the most convincing truth would swallow everything else up and become the one and only truth, even if it happened to be different from the real truth. The truth of those in the past is swallowed up by the truth of those in the future. This can happen even for a mixture of both truth and lies, as long as everyone acknowledges it as true. Stop howling already. I like it best when the witches sob and beg for their lives when they're about to be burned at the stake. They try to bluff like you do. It's such a killjoy. In that case, I guess I'll send you one final gift. A red truth to smash that bluff wide open.
What do you mean? Stop it, Lady Burncastle. Hasn't it already been overwritten with the truth you wished for? That truth and Natsuhi's should be able to coexist. Please don't defile it. Please.
Natsuhi? When did Kinzo ever say it was okay for you to engrave the one-winged eagle into your heart? Those were just the words of the Kinzo from your delusions, weren't they? You know, the real Kinzo. Not once in his entire life did he ever trust you from the bottom of his heart. And not once did he ever consider you letting you bear the family crest. When that heartless announcement was made, Kinzo stood up.
Natsuhi, you need not listen to this. No one can defile the crest engraved in your heart. That is yours alone. Don't let your pride as the final family head be forgotten forever. Natsuhi.
Just shut up and disappear. You miserable delusion of Natsuhi's. Sorry, I went to
No, you cannot erase me. You cannot erase my soul. Not as long as the crest is engraved into Natsuhi's heart.
That's enough, you lying illusion. The real Kinzo wouldn't say that. Disappear. You, the illusion of Kinzo inside Natsuhi's mind, beautified by Natsuhi to suit her own purposes.
Natsuhi, no.
A bright red flash of lightning smashed Kinzo over and over again as he screamed. Then he crumpled like a doll. He sat back down in his chair as though nothing had happened. The fierce emotion had left Kinzo's face. He had truly become like a wax model. And so he would never again share kind words with Natsuhi. That's right. The true Kinzo never once trusted Natsuhi during his entire life. The true Kinzo never once considered allowing Natsuhi to bear the one-winged eagle. Because of course Kinzo had already vanished before the start of the game. The Kinzo that appears in this game is nothing more than Natsuhi's delusion. Every part of this Kinzo who believed in Natsuhi and entrusted her with protecting the family honor was a phantom created by Natsuhi. Pitiful woman. You'll now face the truth that you never gave Ushiromi Kinzo's trust as long as he lived.
Natsuhi, don't cry. Kinzo entrusted the Ushiromiya family to you, right?
No, he didn't. Not only did he not entrust her with that, he never even said hello or met her gaze even once. Natsuhi's cry was a mixture of sadness and many other emotions, and it echoed throughout the cathedral. Natsuhi could no longer stop her tears. Some last faint element that had cheered her up until today, that had allowed her to endure as an Ushiromiya, as the wife to the head's representative, and as the final family head, had been torn into bits. Natsuhi no longer had anything left. Natsuhi could no longer allow herself to even call herself an Ushiromiya. Those difficult days, those painful days, those days where she still gave everything she could for the family she'd married into despite it all. The very few happy days among these, all of these flitted through her mind one after another and disappeared. All of those once beautiful memories were then crushed by Berncastle's red truth, smashed to bits, scattered, plunged deep into her hands, and smeared red with mournful blood. It was the red of sadness and truth.
That is all. Just because the crime exists as it does, this level of reasoning is possible for Furuto Erika. What do you think, everyone?
Lambda Delta clapped. Then a bit later, Berncastle also clapped, looking pleased. The expressionless wax figure-like audience followed suit, and the unshakable verdict was welcomed with a great applause, and so the truth of this tale was decided. Right now, no humans exist on this island except for those in this parlor. And with one exception, it has been shown that none of them have committed murder. And the culprit is among these people. Wow. In that case, it's inclusive, isn't it? Unless the culprit is a witch who committed murder using magic. It was you? You killed George? You killed my husband? Why? Why?
I didn't kill anyone. I didn't.
In a panic and with a voice that was far from calm, and a manner that was, to put it coldly, unsightly, Aunt Natsuhi denied the suspicion placed upon her. However, there was no longer any way around it. She stood up, brushed back her long hair, pointed at Aunt Natsuhi, and said it one more time.
You're the culprit, Ushiromiya Natsuhi-san.
Red-faced and tear-streaked, Eva walked up to Natsuhi and grabbed her by the collar. Then wordlessly, she slapped Natsuhi's cheek. Natsuhi, who had never been slapped in her life, was shocked by the taste of iron which she was feeling for the first time. It turned into a scuffle between Eva and Natsuhi. Battler immediately tried to stop them, but Eva planted a sharp knee into Battler's gut and he doubled over. Give them back! Give back George and give back my husband! Why did you kill them? You murderer! Sobbing, Eva kicked Natsuhi, who had fallen to the ground, over and over. Battler tried once more to cut in and stop them, but he was brushed aside. And after that, no one tried to stop them. Repeating her son and husband's names over and over, Eva kicked Natsuhi and kicked her. And then she started grabbing whatever her eyes fell upon and throwing it. Natsuhi was hit with a steaming teacup, a can of black tea whose tea leaves fell out all over her. She was kicked, her hair pulled and dragged up, her cheek slapped so many times that it started to swell.
Is Eva just gonna fucking beat Natsuhi to death in front of everyone right now?
No one tried to stop it. It wasn't because they were worried about Eva kicking them, too. Because they thought an appropriate act of retribution for a person who had lost her beloved son and husband. A proper retribution. A proper truth. Everyone in the parlor accepted that Natsuhi was the culprit. They accepted the truth that Erika had claimed. So it became a proper truth, and Natsuhi was designated as the proper culprit. She had already lost the husband and daughter who might have protected her after all. And even Kinzo, who should have given her a final bit of strength, had already vanished like a bubble in the ocean of illusions. No longer would anyone protect her. No longer would anyone believe in her. So she was now the true culprit. Eva's shoulders heaved with her heavy breathing. Apparently her anger still hadn't abated. Erika patted her shoulder and made Eva take a step back. Of course, this wasn't to protect Natsuhi from violence. It was to further humiliate Natsuhi, now that she had been branded as the culprit.
Natsuhi-san, I've solved 2 of the 3 riddles so far. The whodunit and the howdunit. The final riddle, the whydunit, must always be confessed by the culprit herself. Please follow the rules in the mystery genre and confess.
The whydunit refers to the motive.
If this was a third-rate mystery, you would let out a high-pitched laugh about now and confess to the crime and start telling the story of her sad past. Don't tell me you intend to make me explain that part as well.
I am not the culprit. Someone believe me. I just had my husband taken hostage, was threatened, and fell into a trap.
Natsuhi, with her hair a mess and her face red, tear-streaked, protested to everyone, but no one met her gaze. Because it has already been resolved that Natsuhi was the culprit. Because Lambda Delta had acknowledged that the culprit of the tale was Natsuhi, and had woven it that way. None of the pieces would pay heed to Natsuhi's, to the culprit's words.
Natsuhi isn't the culprit. I am the Golden Witch Beatrice. I'm the one who commands Rokkenjima's night, and who has reigned since long before the time you were all still scared of the dark. Why can't you just call it my sin? Why must you suspect Natsuhi? Acknowledge me. I committed all the crimes. There's no way a human is the culprit.
The illusion of the witch had already been crushed, and Beato's voice didn't reach anyone. The verdict had already been made. Everything had been decided.
No one can hear you. You're a phantom. A mere illusion. Go back to being a simple portrait. You're a faint phantom of a witch, born when Kinzo shared his illusion with his relatives. That is the truth chosen by this world. So, great Lady Lambda Delta. Now is the time for you to bury the ridiculous and foolish illusion that this witch claims is the truth.
Goodbye, Beatrice. I made you a witch expecting that you'd either become my friend or help distract me from my boredom. And you've answered to my expectations. The second one, that is. I am a witch. Even if Lady Lambda Delta doesn't acknowledge it, I'm a witch. Oh, sure, but you wouldn't even be capable of believing that if I hadn't become your guardian in the first place. Yep, this is game over for you. You'll be buried in accordance with the rules of your game board. What happens to the losers in your game again?
Beato has already shown that clearly in a previous game. You get made into a mound of living flesh before being tossed into the goat's dinner party and getting chewed to bits. And there's a fitting end for you, Beatrice. And I did come all the way here just to hear the death cries of one as haughty as you.
Did you just call me a hottie?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
One by one, a massive number of goat attendants slipped out from the shadows of the pillars and began to fill the cathedral. The goats paid no attention to Natsuhi, who was seated in the center. But the crowd completely enveloped her. From Beato's point of view up on the balcony, it probably looked like a huge boiling pot of goats.
That's right. The contract has been like this since the beginning. Yep, our contract said that whenever you stopped entertaining me, you would relieve me of my boredom with your life. Come, strip the title of witch from this woman and throw her into the pot of goats.
Suddenly, there were goats standing right behind Beato. They lifted her up roughly.
You hear some nice screams, okay? You're the wine I've been fermenting all this time, after all.
And perhaps refusing your request will be my final strike back at you.
Yeah, I made her say it. The best screams always come from a girl who's just said some tired line like that. Fall, Beatrice.
The goats carrying Beato no longer viewed her as their master. After holding her above the pot of clambering goats which were snorting heavily in anticipation, they threw Beato's slender body into the air. All at once, the squirming goats faced the heavens and raised their arms. It was almost as though they would be able to forget the pain for just a short while by devouring her flesh. She flew through the air. Beato tried to smile boldly, but it was so stiff that it seemed even more pathetic, much to Burn Castle's amusement. When Beato fell into the pot, the goats caught her. Of course, they didn't do it gently. The arms of countless ghosts pulled at her flesh to keep it for themselves, tried to tear her to bits. Didn't have to be flesh. Hair, fingernails, shoes, even bits of her dress worked just fine. The mouths of those goats were the gateway into hell. However, Beato was too big to enter that gateway, so they had to chew and tear her into bits small enough to fit into it. Beato let out a bold laugh. She laughed from inside the pot of goats. However, her expression was very different from the one she had wanted. It was an expression not of a witch, but of a single human yelling in her death throes. Then the sea of goats parted. Delanor leapt forward, slicing all the goats in her path with a single flash of her long sword. It was a clean slice like cutting through butter. The goats were surprised by Delanor's sudden appearance and stepped back. In the center, Beatrice cowered in tatters, sobbing.
What's this supposed to be? Dlanor, Inquisitor of Heresy?
My apologies, but I have something to say. There is someone who has an objection to this ruling. His name is Ushiromia Battler.
There's the ZTS coming
Yeah.
in. Ah, all of the goats stared at Battler.
What is unsatisfactory about the court's ruling? Do you possess any new evidence or truth sufficient to request a retrial?
Ugh. I get it. Delanor's offering me a helping hand. If she hadn't jumped in here, it'd be all over. And now I fully understand how I'm supposed to fight. But because I understand how, I am unable to fight right now. After all, I can't win by simply countering Eric's truth. If I want to deny her truth, I'll need to present a different one.
Time for a turnabout.
I still don't know what a clue that truth is. Yeah, right? This is very much...
There is nothing that is not healed with time.
And there is no truth that cannot be reached if you spend enough time searching. However, all trials have a limited time in which the truth must be decided.
3 days for some reason.
Therefore, a truth that cannot be reached within that limited time cannot become truth. Yeah, I know that. But now everyone is certain that Aunt Natsuhi's the culprit. It might be too late now, even for the real truth. Aunt Ava's violence will probably go unstopped, and no one is even thinking about protecting Aunt Natsuhi. It's no longer a situation where we can say, oh, the truth will eventually be found. In this world, the time remaining to expose the truth is very short. It is already midnight at the game's end. The police won't come. The truth won't be revealed. Only the truth decided upon here and now will remain. I slowly stood up, walked in front of Beto, and faced Lanor. I have no plan. I don't know the truth. However, if I don't jump in now, I won't get another chance to fight. Yeah, he really is fucking Phoenix Wright right now, isn't he?
Yeah!
This really is just Phoenix Wright. The red used by Erica's group is mercilessly strict. I seriously doubt that I can put together a truth where Aunt Natsuhi isn't the culprit without violating that red.
I can.
Yeah, we already did. Why the uncertain face? How pathetic. Damn it.
Battler.
I'll be the one to kill you. I want to keep that promise. And yet, right now, I don't have any plan at all.
That's okay. In this world, there is no truth. The truth is made later on and overwrites what comes before it. Real truth doesn't exist anywhere.
Now this is a splendid scenario, Delanor. It just wouldn't be interesting unless the knight appears before the princess's execution. And there's nothing better than watching the heads roll before your very eyes. Erase the old piece and the new player all in one go. As you wish. Glory be to the great Lady Burncastle. I am the head inquisitor of heresy, Delanor A. Knox. Step forward, Usharomia Battler. Damn it. I've got nothing more to lose. If you want to see me struggle, I'll show you. The only reason Erica's theory is so strong is because of those seals. She was given red so quickly just because Lambda Delta easily bought the alibis created by those seals. But the seals aren't red truth. Just sticking paper in a door crack is far from perfect. There's no way something like that can prove anything with certainty.
Begin, Battler. Ready to let those goats turn you into a pile of meat along with your beloved Beatrice?
Oh, I'll mix the leftovers from your precious sister into that pile. Wouldn't that make for a wonderful stack of meat? You can wrap it up in a dumpling, steam it, maybe add some soy sauce. I'm hungry, actually. Anyone want to order Thai food?
No. The best way would be to fry them in a pan with some eggs and ketchup.
You just want an omelet, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to take a break and go to like Denny's or something?
Yes.
Okay. Grand Slam.
Grand Slam.
Damn it! Can't we doubt the reliability of these seals of Erica's? Something like wedging paper in a door can't create a perfect alibi. It might be that someone noticed by chance and happened to put it back in the same place.
You suggested that.
Yeah, if someone was canny enough to commit murder, they're probably canny enough to be looking around for stuff.
Yeah.
Right? The blade of my blue truth should have slashed diagonally through Delanor's chest. However, Delanor's expression didn't budge in the slightest, and there wasn't a single wound on her chest. I was wondering what you'd throw out there, but this is ridiculous.
Allow me to explain. This is what I sealed in the doors with. Do you think this was paper, Battler, son?
Oh, they did notice the tape, didn't they?
What?
They did at one point remark on the tape.
The tape.
They did. Shit. Erica once again held up the thing that looked like brown paper.
This is packing tape, and its adhesive power is extremely strong. I use scissors to make it easier to tear. Furthermore, I wrote my signature, which cannot be reproduced in 3 places. Across the tear point, across the edge between the door and the tape, across the edge between the tape and the door frame. Therefore, it is impossible to tear it off without leaving a mark, and impossible to reattach too.
Permission to unsheath the red key.
Granted.
Due to the above, the seals are guaranteed to be perfect. Miss Erica's seals were not broken by anyone, and deception is impossible. I'll acknowledge Erica's seals. However, Aunt Ava's seal in Genji-san's room should be different. Ava's seal was of the same type as Miss Erica's.
Why?
Why? Why? Was Ava conspiring with Erica? Erica didn't kill anyone, so she's not the culprit.
We know she's not the culprit. We don't know she's not an accomplice.
Shh. Erica is an accomplice.
Ava could waltz right in, do the murders. Erica saw and didn't say. It all cleanly dodges the red truth.
Wow. Fuck. Okay, hold on. That is because this method of sealing was one that Miss Erica and Ava conceived of together after dinner. So they were talking.
Yeah.
Erica said something about a scientific investigation and fished through chemicals in grandfather's room, right? There might have been some kind of solvent in there. If you use that, you might be able to tear off the packing tape without leaving fingernail marks.
Please, allow me to speak. It is impossible to tear off any of the seals by any method without leaving marks. Please, allow me to speak. There were no suspicious marks on any of the seals.
Therefore, it's been proving that nothing was done to any of the seals. Repeat it.
Yeah, gladly. All of Erica and Ava's seals were not tampered with in any way that hindered their ability to act as seals, such as being straight off. I mean, it also doesn't stop them from going out the window, but that's a different... We're not worrying about that right now. Damn it! Damn you, using packing tape that leaves marks all over the place. Delanor isn't my only enemy. There's also her subordinates, Gertrude and Cornelia. And also Erica and her master Berncastle. And even Lambda Delta, the one who hijacked Beato's game. Everyone in this cathedral is an enemy. That fierce rush of red immediately repelled my feeble truth. It's obvious why. I don't have any alternate truth. Even at this final stage, I have nothing. Were the seals all that you had to discuss? You promised to give it everything you've got. Ugh.
Ask about Rosa. Ask about Rosa. Ask about Rosa. God damn it, Battler.
If only I knew a truth that could prove Aunt Natsuhi's innocence. I could make a theory that weaves its way through Erica's red. Damn it, I don't know anything.
Do you have any chance of winning?
I left it at home. Mind if I go back and get it?
I've already lost. I'm prepared for my fate.
I promised that I'd kill you, so I won't let anyone else do it. I'll definitely keep that promise.
Liar. I'll never trust your promises again.
Huh? When did I ever make a promise to you, and what was the lie?
After hearing you say that, hell might not be so bad.
Something about 6 years ago, maybe? Sorry, my brain only goes back 5.5.
Kill us. Berncastle, Lambda Delta.
Wow. Beato let out a shrill cry, overcome with the laughter. It was a broken laugh, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Battler's words would no longer reach her ears. She kept on laughing insanely, like a broken record. Is it over? Pitiful. I am truly disappointed, Usha Romia Battler.
Kill me, Blanor. Slice me in half with that red longsword of yours.
Let us assume that there exists some method X that can lead to someone on the second floor, to someone getting on the second floor of the guest house without passing through the lounge. Erica claims that the windows and such were sealed, but she can't prove that she sealed all possible means of entry. There's a possibility that Erica was unable to seal entrance X because she couldn't find it. Nox's third. It is forbidden for hidden passages to exist. As the detective, Miss Erica sealed all entrances. Passages that the detective cannot find are hidden passages. Therefore, there are no entrances that Miss Erica cannot find. I present the possibility that Erica's lookout on the lounge wasn't perfect.
Getting closer. During
the 2 hours Erica spent there, she really observed everything without looking away for a second. It might be possible for someone to have passed through the lounge during a small gap without at least Erica seeing them.
Please, allow me to speak. Lady Erica's lookout in the lounge was perfect. There were no small gaps or carelessness or times when she looked away for even a second.
But doesn't matter if...
Please, allow me to speak. Therefore, during their entire meeting in the lounge, only Rosa went up to the second floor.
In the entire meeting in the lounge. That does make it difficult.
It does still leave open the possibility that Rosa's the culprit.
I guess.
That theory is not very satisfying.
Or someone went up during the time prior, right?
Yeah, or still the possibility that someone went up during the time prior.
But was that really Aunt Rosa herself? There's a possibility that someone disguised themselves as Aunt Rosa. Or maybe she was actually holding a large suitcase with someone hiding inside of it. Oh, fuck. Nox's 10th. It is forbidden for a character to disguise themselves as another without any clothes. There have been no hints suggesting that someone had disguised themselves as Rosa. Furthermore, Erica has confirmed that she wasn't carrying any luggage large enough to hide a human N. Natsuhi was being threatened by someone. The uninvited unknown guest X is the true culprit. How can you be sure we are the only ones on this island? The true culprit is someone else. Nox is first. It is forbidden for the culprit to be anyone not mentioned in the early part of the story. Maybe they were killed with poison in a remote murder, with a strange drug that can make a cut appear in someone's neck when they die. That type of murder has delayed effect, so even an alibi.
Oh my god, I can't feel the effect.
Nox is fourth. It is forbidden for unknown drugs or hard to understand scientific devices to be used.
Keep pressing.
There's a chance that there existed a murder device X in the cousin room and Genji-san's waiting room that made a remote murder possible. That's some secret mechanism that still hasn't been discovered. And... Nox is eighth. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. Anyway, there exists a culprit other than Natsuhi. If you want to deny that, try and repeat in red that none of the appearing characters were the culprit. Nox is sixth. It is forbidden for an accident or intuition to be employed as a detective technique. You say that everyone except Aunt Natsuhi has an alibi? You're forgetting that one person. Who's gonna prove that Erica herself has an alibi? Nox is seventh. It is forbidden for the detective to be the culprit. We haven't gotten to the 9th, have we?
I guess not.
Unless she is caught red-handed, you should never be able to deny the possibility that Aunt Natsuhi is innocent. Can you even deny future possibilities like a piece of evidence X that Erica hasn't discovered proves Natsuhi's innocence? Nox is 8th. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved that clues that are not presented. This tale is filled with malicious lies. The tale itself has become a trap to capture Natsuhi. The tale should be constructed only from impartial truths. Nox's 9th. It is permitted for observers to let their own conclusions and explanations be heard. I was the culprit, so maybe I gave George Aniki and the others a slow-acting poison to make them die after 2400, then silently slit their throats when I returned at 3 a.m. I could have done it so quietly that Erica wouldn't hear. Nox's 8th. It is forbidden for the case to be resolved with clues that are not presented. Everyone committed suicide. There is no culprit.
Please allow me to speak. All victims' deaths were homicides. Okay, so that rules out Rosa.
Yep.
This is fucked up then.
This is fucked up then, because... Wow, okay.
Okay, so.
Okay, yeah.
But wait. We still have something that you pointed out. We don't have it in red who was in the dining hall, right?
I don't believe I think the trick to this one is going to come down to someone wasn't in the dining hall that we've all been assuming was there.
Suppose they were lying about Cannon and Shannon being there. That either or both of them was not there.
Mm-hmm. That could happen. Erica didn't personally examine the corpses, right? Should be possible for people who weren't the detective to make a mistake when examining corpses.
Please allow me to speak. Know that no examination of the corpses could have been mistaken.
Then maybe there were body double corpses. They prepared corpses beforehand that closely resembled the victims.
Know that no corpses exist except those of characters who have appeared in the story.
Is that true for all games?
It's unclear.
Oh, I hope not, because there goes our big, case number 1 theory.
That said, we also know so much more about case number 1 now that I wonder if our theory would still be our theory when we went back.
Then how can you claim that Uncle Krause is dead without his corpse? Doesn't that violate Nox's something or whatever?
Know that the red truth is simply truth, and there is no need to provide evidence or proof.
What the... Damn it! In the face of these insane arguments, any attempts to overturn the truth where Aunt Natsuhi is treated as the culprit are completely meaningless. Each time I brandish my desperate blue truths, Delano and the others' red truths knocked me down to the floor. It was getting hard to even stand back up again. Does that mean my body is telling me that I'm about to surrender to the truth where Aunt Natsuhi is the culprit? The red truth is getting more and more perfect. Each time I think I can slip through a chink in their armor, Delano smacks me down with the red longsword of Nox. Beato.
That's enough, Battler. Now the endless torture that torments me, no, us, will finally end. Let us fall together into the depths.
Ugh. I don't want to see Beato like this. Her Majesty is the ruler of the Golden Land. Her enthusiasm as my rival are completely gone. She's just a pitiful woman who's been trampled over and lost all hope, with tears streaming down her face and a tragic smile that I can't bear to look at. Does your truth no longer exist? No, I have one last thing.
Oh yeah? Just one more thing?
Just one more thing. And that is a different truth where Natsuhi is not the culprit. That's not it. All I can do is prove that Aunt Natsuhi isn't the culprit. After that, I can't show what the real truth is at all. But even so, maybe you'll at least be saved that way.
Why?
I can show without a doubt that Aunt Natsuhi is not the culprit. However, I cannot show a different truth. If Erica's truth is dispersed, the crime will return to darkness, and there might still be room for you to exist.
Is he going to deploy the red truth that he was given?
I don't know if he can, but yeah.
Maybe he can. Maybe he can magic
If he could,
now.
why couldn't he? Oh, yeah! That'd be awesome. Yeah, if you can do it. But if you can't show a new truth, that means you're incompetent and useless as a player. I'll have you vanish from this game board for all eternity. At this point, the game master is Lambda Delta, and she is there too. This probably doesn't mean losing a single game, but being banished from this game for all eternity for losing. From what the witches have said in the past, I can faintly imagine the place pieces are sent when they are banished. It is known as the depths of oblivion, an eternal darkness that lies on the far side of an eternal oblivion and where there is no concept of life or death.
Skyrim?
I'm going to disappear, aren't I? I'm going to go to Skyrim. However, Beato will remain. And as long as Beato remains, no matter how suspicious Aunt Natsuhi is, there always remains space for the witch to be the culprit and use a bucket to clip her way out of the corner of a room. In other words, room for Aunt Natsuhi to not be the culprit. As long as that space exists, someone will eventually expose the truth. It doesn't have to be me. Anyway, eventually someone will smash this fake truth into pieces. I understood that the time had come to abandon myself for the sake of this other person who would eventually appear. For the sake of the real truth. Well, looks like I'll have to break my promise to kill you after all.
Don't leave me as the only one alive. I'll disappear with you. Let that be your final tribute to me, I beg you. If you just do this one thing, I don't need anything else.
Have you used up everything you
Have.
I really am disappointed in you, Ushiromiya battler.
Quickly perform his requiem. That way I'll have an open field on which to expose Natsuhi-san's sin.
These guys really are interesting. Beatrice, Ushiromiya battler.
But I've gotten tired of this. You aren't needed in our game. Do it, Lanor. This is the
And
If you still have one last bit of power, let me see you muster it now in your last
moments.
It is small, but it is a sparkling red truth. The last trump card Virgilia gave me. Erica, this takes your theory back to square one.
You can. Why not go ahead?
They did it!
Yeah.
They did it! They did the thing! Take that! Ushiromiya Natsuhi is not the culprit!
Yeah!
The red truth is simply truth, with no evidence or proof needed. This will make Lanor stagger, even if that's all it does. It's the first and last strike I can make.
That's a good base.
Nox is second. It is forbidden for supernatural agencies to be employed as a detective technique. My red truth was blown away by Delanor's red longsword.
In this court, if anyone other than witches is going to speak the red truth, they'll have to construct an appropriate proof for it. Erica has been following this procedure, right?
True, Erica hadn't used the red herself even once so far. She always had Burncastle, a witch, to repeat her statements.
Battler, become Meguka. Battler, 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 battler.
Your red truth isn't something you obtain for yourself. It's a supernatural truth given by a paranormal being. In other words, it isn't reasoning. It's no better than a random thought. In that case, if I have Virgilia say the same red truth, where's Virgilia? If you are to present that red truth, you must construct an appropriate
Counter-argument.
Can you do that? No, it's impossible. I just have the truth that Aunt Natsuhi isn't the culprit without any basis or evidence.
See, real truth is a very fragile thing. Does real truth exist? And is it necessary? Even without it, the tale will continue on, Battler.
Come on, Battler. Prove the red that you have
Shown.
If you cannot, this is
Goodbye.
Ugh. All right then. Goodbye. Sorry, Beto.
Don't say that. Thanks for sticking around with me. It was such a blood-stained tale, but it was fun. For everyone involved, really.
Well, maybe I don't know about that. The trial is now
Finished. 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 Finished.
Good old die the death.
Oh, I didn't read that far ahead. I was still counting out all the
Die the
finishes.
death, sentenced to death. The great equalizer is the death. Yeah.
Did she get all those in there?
Yeah,
Nice.
real quick.
Oh, we don't even get that in the... Okay, well, fine. Sorry, I missed out on my fun opportunity to say, die the death. The great equalizer is the death. And with that, the trial for the 5th game ended. The detective Furuto Erika accused the culprit, Shiromi Natsuhi. There are 3 riddles that the detective must explain. First is the whodunit. Who was the culprit? As previously stated, it is Ushiromi Natsuhi. The second is the how done it. How did they carry out the crime? During the hour between 2400 on October 4th, 1986 and 1 o'clock on the next day, Ushiromi Natsuhi went to the cousin room on the 2nd floor of the guest house and the servant waiting room on the 1st floor of the mansion. There she carried out the murders. It was only possible for the crime to have taken place during that hour, and for that 1 hour, alibis have been proven for all characters except Natsuhi. From the sky, a massive red longsword, even greater than the size of the one Delanor held, came crashing down like a thunderbolt, piercing through Battler's heart and pitting him in place while he still stood. In that instant, Beatrice became a golden splash and faded away, and her former minions disappeared as well. The heartless witches looked down at the cathedral center, laughing coldly. All that remained was Battler, the red longsword sticking through him, and Delanor. Ugh. Rest in
Peace.
Ushiromi Battler. What a...
Shame.
I thought you were a more capable person than...
This.
Ugh. Battler blew bubbles of blood, closed his eyes slowly, and died. Rip to him, but I'm...
Different.
Delanor stared on in silence, then turned on her heels when she saw his life leave him. After that, all that remained was the corpse of this sorrowful man, pierced by the sword that acted as a massive red grave marker and lit by the faint glow let in from the cathedral's skylight. And then, there was the 3rd riddle the detective must uncover. The final riddle, the why done it. Why did they commit the crime? The motive. In third-rate mysteries, there's no need to uncover this. After all, even if you don't expose the motive, the culprit will just confess it when all's said and done. However, Furuto Erika was first-rate, so she would expose even this. I love the... I wanted to mention this earlier, but it didn't seem appropriate during the scene. The choice of music they used for this bit here is fucking perfect.
Oh, yeah.
It is so on point.
Absolutely.
I fucking love it. Natsuhi was being confined in the parlor under everyone's watchful gazes. Then Erika made use of everyone to diligently and persistently search all places, even Natsuhi's room, for clues about her motive.
Well, now that we've all gathered, just what is it that drove Ushiromi and Natsuhi-san to commit these terrible murders? Through my investigation, I, the detective Furuto Erika, have discovered the general outline that explains this. I would like to announce it now.
Everyone remained silent, urging her to continue. Erika tossed some of Natsuhi's possessions that had been confiscated onto the table.
First, these are past diaries that were discovered in Natsuhi-san's room. They've barely been used at all in recent years, but they describe in detail the period shortly after she became a part of the Ushiromi family. Most of them were locked, but in order to find the full truth behind this crime, I used my authority, which everyone has acknowledged, to destroy the locks on all of them.
How barbaric. Reading another person's diary.
If we're barbaric, what does that make you, murderer? A criminal like you has no right to privacy.
And this is what I found from these diaries. Natsuhi-san ended up married to Kraus-san due to special circumstances. I imagine that all of you here know much more about this than I do. Natsuhi-san and Kraus were not married because of love or its normal arranged marriage. If anything, it was more like taking a hostage.
That is not true.
This is written on the 24th page of this red diary. I am a hostage being imprisoned by the Ushiromiya family under the guise of marriage. However, if anything can be resolved this way. Natsuhi-san, right here, you've already acknowledged that you were a hostage. Kumasawa-san, you have served Natsuhi-san since the time she first came here, right? Could you tell me about what it was like at the time?
Yes, that's correct. I did catch wind of something similar to what you describe. I think that by now, only Dr. Nanjo and I know of the details regarding Madam's marriage. That was during Kinzo-san's golden era, when he did whatever he pleased. He defeated all of his enemies to exploit his financial power. Natsuhi-san's family was one of those enemies.
As though the time to talk had suddenly come at hand, Kumasawa and Nanjo openly delved into territory that should never have been touched upon again. This was concerning the period during which Kinzo was most feared for his ferocity. It has been said that, though Kinzo had many assets and connections, he held a grudge after being looked down upon by members in the elite as being an upstart. Because of this, apparently, Kinzo wanted to find Kraus a wife from a noble family and use this to raise the Ushiromiya family's status. Then he overcame Natsuhi's family in a financial struggle and proposed that a marriage be performed as a method of reconciliation. And the person he picked was Natsuhi. Natsuhi had been raised to be clean and pure in a family of Shinto priests, making her a true noble lady. By choosing her, not only did Kinzo cause them the worst possible humiliation, he also won what he considered to be a nice trophy. So that marriage proposal was humiliating to Natsuhi from the very beginning.
Regarding the aforementioned facts, both Kumasawa-san and Dr. Nanjo's claims just now match with the contents of the diaries. Therefore, since the time Natsuhi-san first took the name Ushiromiya Natsuhi, she has held a strong resentment against the Ushiromiya family. What do you have to say, Natsuhi-san? Do you acknowledge this?
All of the cold gazes turned to face Natsuhi.
Yes, it's true that I thought that at first. I thought I was being forced into a marriage without love, a hostage under the guise of a bride. However, my husband never viewed me as a mere hostage. He understood what I had gone through and gave me compassion and affection. My husband was the only person who could understand me.
I see. That makes sense. And there are many scenes in your diary showing that Kraus-san knew of your difficulties and showed kindness. However, on page 47 of this diary, you describe these moments as being unpleasant, correct? Let me read aloud. When Kraus tries to show kindness, it only makes me feel more wretched. Sometimes I think he might even be trying to humiliate me further. Therefore, we can tell that Natsuhi-san repaid her husband's kindness with contempt.
Wait. Yes, I may have thought that at the beginning. Back when I was still overwhelmed with unease, I couldn't accept his kindness and wrote of my distrust from time to time. But I eventually realized he was sincere and grew to accept his feelings.
Well, nothing like that appears in any of these diaries.
I never even wrote it down. Those feelings were so secret.
Judging by many diverse bits of evidence and testimony, I think it's clear that you despise your husband. And there exists evidence that you eventually accepted his feelings. There's no evidence that you eventually accepted his feelings, as you claim.
I loved my husband.
You cannot find any testimony or evidence that can be used to elevate that statement to the level of red truth, right?
Does anyone need evidence to say they're in love?
You can't trust anything besides the red truth. Statements that aren't red don't count as evidence at all, and they can't be trusted at all. All non-red letters are falsehoods that exist to deceive me. I love you? Who would believe that when spoken with the white text? No non-red words can ever be trusted. All I can trust in this world is the red truth and the pieces of evidence I offer my master to gain it. You lying human who can't speak the truth. Humans lacking the red truth have no right to speak of love or heart or truth. Did you know? Men aren't as stupid as you women think they are. Men never really take it seriously when a woman says, I love you.
Can we talk about that brief moment where Erica is just
Yes. And how she's calling out the people playing the game by only focusing on the red and not listening to what people are saying.
Yep.
Yep. Although I do appreciate we'd moved past that point.
Yeah.
We did.
What a pitiful person. I see that you've never truly loved someone.
Romance is unnecessary for a detective. I don't think I've ever used the word romance except to explain a motive for murder.
No matter what you say, we loved each other. I should be apologizing to my husband for always writing down my complaints and nothing else. But I have devoted my heart to him, even if I can't prove it. That is the truth.
Rejected. You just don't know when to give up to you. By now, do the evidence and testimony. It is clear you hated both your husband and the Ushiromiya family.
That's right. I can't even count the number of times I've heard you complain.
Oh, and you've never talked behind Hideyoshi-san's back.
Damn it! You killed my husband! How dare you say that? Die and apologize to my husband.
Please cease your violence, Ava-san. This is now the precious moment where I question and convict the culprit. It is not yours, okay? Well then, over the next several years, she appeared to have gotten used to her new way of life. But in actuality, an intense hatred still lurked in her heart. Taking that into consideration, there would be nothing odd at all about her deciding to take revenge.
Don't act like you know what I'm thinking.
Each time Erika read one of Natsuhi's diaries, one after another, she exposed more of Natsuhi's emotions during those painful days. Natsuhi hadn't written them to leave those words behind. She had written to forget those memories and seal them away. That's why she had written down her feelings during those painful days, locked them up, and sealed them away for all eternity. However, Erika claimed that these were Natsuhi's true hidden feelings that had been locked away and concealed. Since it had already been concluded that Natsuhi was a murderer, everyone accepted Erika's claim. But at this point, the red truth wasn't even necessary to establish Natsuhi's motive. As long as the reason seemed plausible, everyone would believe it. No matter how much Natsuhi might object, no one would believe her. No one could accept the truth Natsuhi spoke of about the days she had spent loving her husband. That had been painted over by a single false truth, in which she hated her husband and swore revenge against him. The pen of the gods that composes the truth had been given to Erika. So what? Who gives a damn about your past? Murderer! Murderer!
I can understand how Natsuhi-san felt.
I wish that this day would come eventually. Poor thing. Poor thing. Ooh. I think she's just one of the pitiable victims of father's wild life.
Oh, I knew of the pain in Madam's heart. I was trying to support her, but I failed, and look what that's happened.
I don't even understand the emotions of love and hate, if I'm being honest. You will someday. It can become a reason to live, and also a reason to kill. Is Aunt Natsuhi really the culprit?
Well, now you mention it, there's just one person besides Natsuhi-san that might be the culprit.
What? 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 Are you serious? Why didn't you say something that important sooner?
Natsuhi-san, the truth is there's one person besides you for whom the crime was possible. If you truly claim that you aren't the culprit, it means that person must be the culprit.
Huh?
Who is it? Who?
Ushiromiya Kinzo-san.
I was wondering when we would get to this.
Damn.
Early this morning, Kinzo-san went outside through the window of the third floor study. His location is still unknown. Isn't that right, Battler-san?
Nah.
Just like Natsuhi-san, Kinzo-san has no alibi whatsoever. The truth is, for this crime, it was possible for Kinzo-san to be the culprit as well. I just assumed that he never existed in the first place. I totally forgot about him until just now. Let me do apologize.
She didn't look shy or apologetic in the slightest. Erika bowed in an as unpleasant a manner as ever. She had held a grudge ever since her defeat in the study battle.
Natsuhi-san, you gained Kinzo-san's trust and are the person who served close to him, right? So shouldn't you know better than anyone else? This incident is actually the crime of the family head, carried out by Ushiromiya Kinzo-san.
You dare call Father a criminal?
Don't worry, I prepared more than enough evidence and testimony to explain the why done it if Kinzo-san was actually the culprit. If you say, for example, that you've put yourself on the line to cover for Kinzo's crime, I'm more than capable of supporting you. Ever since the late period of the author Ellery Queen, even the theory created by the detective could sometimes change the plot itself. You really can't afford to be careless in this day and age. Nah.
I won't let you treat Father like the culprit.
Natsuhi-san, calm down. Place your head on your chest and think carefully. If you accuse Kinzo-san of being the culprit, this entire case will be resolved. You will no longer be held accountable for another person's actions, and your honor will be restored.
In other words, by pushing the crime onto Kinzo, Natsuhi would be saved. However,
I have been entrusted with the honor of the Ushiromiya family by Father. Did you really think that I would defile Father's honor, the Ushiromiya family honor, just to clear away the false accusations made against me?
of course, Natsuhi knew that she wasn't the culprit. And she knew that Kinzo wasn't. So being framed herself and pushing the blame onto Kinzo were both unacceptable, unbearable outcomes.
Are you sure? As I've already established quite thoroughly, alibis have been proven for everyone else except you. If you will not accuse Kinzo-san, then this time it really will be clear that you are the culprit, and that will become the truth, right?
If you intend to label me as the culprit and call that your own personal truth, then do whatever you like. I'm sure that God knows of my innocence. Eventually, he will prove it.
If it came to a choice between her and Kinzo being framed, Natsuhi would sacrifice herself. Perhaps that was her way of protecting the Ushiromiya family's honor. Aunt Natsuhi?
And I even gave you a chance.
Stupid woman. This future where your name will eventually be cleared doesn't exist for any of you. Not for any of the pieces on this board. Natsuhi had made her decision. If they were going to call her the culprit, she would let them. She boldly rejected the thought of selling Kinzo's honor to gain a momentary truth where she wasn't the culprit. And therefore, the tale was woven with her as the culprit. In the future, the accusations against her are proven false. This tale will probably be rewritten. However, that future will never come. I think truth is a fleeting thing. Even if I am a good person until my death, if some heartless person after my death overwrites the records and says I wasn't a good person, if that is shared with everyone else, then even all the goodness in which I lived my life could be overwritten easily. And so, I think that I won't live as a good person for all eternity. Are we ready for battle or heel face turn?
Yeah.
Battle or heel face turn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you claim that Kinzo-san was not the culprit, he will need an alibi proving that the crime was impossible for him. Otherwise, I cannot truly be certain that you are the culprit, Natsuhi-san.
Erika has probably known for a long time. Kinzo is nothing more than an illusion to make the inheritance problem be more uncertain. However, it would be very hard to prove that he was an illusion. The only way to do this would be to confirm Kinzo's death, but it's been made known by the Red Truth in previous games, Kinzo died a long time ago. And in this 5th game, his corpse hasn't even appeared. In a situation like this, it wouldn't be easy to absolutely prove his death. If Kinzo's death was confirmed, it would practically erase that defeat in the study. It was the only way Erika had of removing the humiliation of that loss. And there was something that could confirm Kinzo's death almost as certainly as real proof. And that was the confession of the culprit. It would mean having Natsuhi herself acknowledge that Kinzo no longer existed in this world. That way it would be acknowledged that Erika's reasoning in the study was correct. That loss would be painted over and it would be rewritten as Erika's victory. Battler hung suspended by Delanor's red longsword. Beato had disappeared by having her existence denied, and her minions had gone too. In this cathedral that they had disappeared from, only Natsuhi and the witches convicting her remained. So, you still claim that Kinzo is alive and remains somewhere on the island?
That's correct. Father is in good health. No matter what anyone says, I will not change my statement. The Red Truth from the previous game says that Kinzo's already dead. But that's not enough to satisfy you, right, Burn?
Yeah, that's right. I'm after a perfect victory after all. Wow, really are just playing up the Ace Attorney stuff here. Huh? So, there's nothing interesting about getting a checkmate just because Kinzo's death has been confirmed by the Red. I want to win by forcing Natsuhi to say that she's resigned.
Then why don't you try it? Show us what you got.
My master, let us now achieve a perfect victory.
Of course. Natsuhi, you say Kinzo was certainly alive, but you don't know where he is, correct?
Yes, that's right. Father left through the window and his location is unknown. He is so troublesome sometimes.
Lambda. I'm gonna make Kinzo's dead location from 2400 until the morning absolutely clear, okay? From 2400 until the morning, Kinzo stayed in the same.
Well, that's true. He was a corpse after all. No, I'm sorry. That's right. Totally right. I won't butt in. It sounds interesting, so keep going.
What is it that she noticed there? That allied to the fact that someone might have moved the body at some point? Huh, okay. From now on, I'll use the word Kinzo to refer to the living Kinzo. After all, Natsuhi claims that he's alive, after all. I'll say more with the red truth. Kinzo does not exist anywhere outside the mansion. Isn't that right, Erica?
Yes, my master. I searched for Kinzo all over the premises outside the mansion. However, I was unable to find him.
Because of the detective's authority, Erica could find all clues. Therefore, if Erica was unable to find a hint that Kinzo existed outside of the mansion, it was the same as proving Kinzo didn't exist outside of the mansion. Therefore, Berncastle repeated that truth of Erica's. Kinzo does not exist outside of the mansion. Hey, Natsuhi. If Kinzo does exist, then this means he must be somewhere inside the mansion, right? Do you have any idea where Kinzo might be hiding?
How could I know? After all, think of the weather. There would be nothing strange about him leaving the courtyard to hide somewhere in the mansion and dry the rain off.
From this point forward, I will repeat the same thing several times. I'll give you many, many chances for an honorable surrender. If you're too stubborn, you'll lose even your true honor.
No matter how you threaten me, I will not give in.
I just love teasing pieces like you. Then let us continue.
For the aforementioned reasons, it is unthinkable that Kinzo-san could have been somewhere outside the mansion. First off, I performed an extensive search of the third floor where the study is.
However, there was nowhere he could have been hiding. We couldn't find any trace of Dad on the third floor at all.
So then, where is he, Natsuhi-san?
I don't know. If he isn't on the third floor, perhaps he's hiding in the basement.
Yeah, the basement. The boiler room, that underground storage room, every part of your suspicious basement was also included in my search.
Underground storage room, huh? Yes, I searched too. I didn't see Father anywhere.
I'll say it again. Where's Kinzo-san? Natsuhi-san?
In that case, he was probably on the first floor, the second floor.
Why are they making her prove it? I mean, like, I know why, but, like, she could just say, I don't know. He's fucking Kinzo.
I see. Process of elimination does tell us that, doesn't it? We then thoroughly searched the first floor. And the result?
Nothing. We were unable to find Father.
I'll say it again. Where was Kinzo-san, Natsuhi-san?
Then he was probably hiding on the second floor. How should I know where Father was hiding?
Are you sure about that? Do you really not know where Kinzo-san was hiding?
Oh, Well, Madam knows where Kinzo was hiding.
That's insane.
That can't be true.
Both Shannon and Cannon knew that Kinzo was already dead. So they didn't have a clue how Erica would use a phantom of a person who didn't exist to corner Natsuhi.
Kinzo is nowhere outside the mansion. Kinzo isn't on the 3rd floor. Kinzo isn't in the basement. Kinzo isn't on the 1st floor. Therefore, the only place Kinzo could possibly exist is on the 2nd floor.
I accept that red truth. Natsuhi, Kinzo should be somewhere on the 2nd floor. Will you still not tell us where he's hiding? No matter how many times you ask, it won't change the fact that I don't know.
Erica, start from the beginning and go in order, investigating the entire 2nd floor. Use the detective's authority to avoid missing a single clue, and to see through all types of hidden doors and hidden rooms, alright?
Yes, my master. That Natsuhi sounds pretty dumb, isn't she? She still can't see where we're going with this.
No need to talk any more than is necessary. Come on, Erica. Take everyone with you and begin the investigation.
Erica used her detective's authority to take everyone, even Natsuhi, and go up to the 2nd floor to search every room starting at one end. Even for rooms that were thought to have nothing at all to do with the crime, Erica did not relax her search in the slightest. Her search was thorough in every single room as they moved through them all.
So you still won't tell us where Kinzo-san is hiding?
Stop saying that. How many times do I have to say that I don't know?
Natsuhi-san, even if we do keep searching, we'll never be able to find Kinzo-san at this rate, right?
Huh?
Of course, Kinzo doesn't exist. No matter how long the search continues, it's just a waste of time. This was known by Erica, the witch's piece, and Natsuhi, the one who knew the truth.
In that case, the search will end in the room at the far end of that corridor. In other words, it'll have been proven that Kinzo wasn't in any of these rooms except for that one. What do you think about that? He isn't on the 3rd floor, or the 1st floor, or the basement, and he isn't in any of the rooms on the 2nd floor except for that one at the end. So if he really did exist inside of the mansion, it had been proven that he could only exist in that room at the end. In other words, this was Hempel's Raven.
Because it had been established that a living Kinzo couldn't exist anywhere except the final room at the end of the corridor, that automatically meant that a living Kinzo existed in that final room, and that room at the end of the corridor was...
Oh. Which room was at the end of the corridor again?
Lambda Delta was munching on a refill of popcorn.
Oh, that one's Natsuhi's room, Lady Lambda Delta.
In other words, Kinzo had no place to hide except inside of Aunt Natsuhi's room. Do I need to say it in red?
Of course.
Kinzo does not exist anywhere outside of Natsuhi's room.
Well then, that means this room is the only place left. It means Kinzo-san isn't anywhere outside this room.
Isn't this my room? Where exactly in my room do you claim father's hiding?
In a rage, Natsuhi unlocked the door to her room and pointed inside. Of course, Kinzo was nowhere to be seen.
Do you see father anywhere in here? Look.
I see. Looks like he isn't here. Did you realize we were coming and escape out the window?
If Kinzo wasn't in this last room, it meant that he didn't exist anywhere. There was no living Kinzo outside the mansion. There was no living Kinzo inside the mansion. Therefore, no living Kinzo existed. However, Erica did not make that argument. She pointed that out herself without making a checkmate. It was because Berncastle didn't want to win by cornering Natsuhi with the red truth. She wanted to force Natsuhi to accept a humiliating resignation.
They've not only been searching for Kinzo-san himself all this time. I've been looking for signs that Kinzo-san hid somewhere between 2400 in the morning. And no such signs have existed.
In other words, from 2400 until morning, Kinzo was always holed up in the same room.
I mean, what is the point of this whole rigor? I know they were trying to rub it into the face, but what is the point of showing this to us, the player?
I feel like
We're learning stuff about the layout of the mansion. That's
we
important.
are. I feel like a lot of it is about Erika and Natsuhi,
Mm-hmm.
which we are learning a lot about.
True.
And
It's not like we're
also about the nature of truth and finding the culprit.
Yeah.
That it seems that ruling out a bunch of things that were irrelevant with specious things is good enough to establish the truth if everyone believes it.
Fair enough. Oh, did you read Lambda's?
Yeah.
It means that checkmate, a red truth has finally cornered the piece known as Kinzo's phantom inside of Natsuhi's room. Can I have some of that popcorn, please? I'm actually getting kind of hungry. We've been at this for like, 3.5 hours. Jesus Christ.
Hey, Natsuhi-san. Oh, sorry. It's good popcorn. This means you were both with Kinzo in the room until morning. Do you still claim that you didn't know where he was?
I'll acknowledge it with the red truth. During the night between 2400 and morning, a living Kinzo could not have existed anywhere outside Natsuhi's room. I permit you to use this truth to advance your argument about how he could only have existed in Natsuhi's room.
A plea bargain. Hey, Natsuhi. Even someone as stupid as you must have realized the fix you're in now. This is your last chance. Make Kinzo the culprit. Call the Ushiromiya family head a criminal and crush the head's honor to protect yourself. If you show that you have the guts to do that, I'll change the plot to one of a tragic heroine, taking the blame to protect the family head.
Father is innocent. I cannot call Father a criminal. She's refused the deal. Okay, Burn. Do it.
During the night, between 2400 and morning, there exists no place for a living Kinzo to exist except inside your bed.
What do you mean by that?
After conducting a thorough search of this room, in a detailed scientific examination, I discovered that Kinzo did not exist anywhere in this room between 2400 in the morning. However, your bed is the only exception.
A shocked silence dominated the room. Natsuhi completely forgot to close her open mouth.
Last night, around the time the gold was discovered, so probably at around 2300, Kinzo-san escaped from the window of the 3rd floor and snuck into the bed in your room. And as an even more unfortunate result from my investigation, it has been proven that you were also sleeping in that bed.
I'll repeat it. From 2400 until morning, a living Kinzo could have only existed inside Natsuhi's bed. And last night, Natsuhi also slept in that same bed.
Wow, look how close they were. So, you two were so close to each other, you slept sharing the same pillow?
Blue truth. Therefore, it is suspected that Ushiromiya Natsuhi and Ushiromiya Kinzo had sexual relations with each other. Why else would a man and a woman share the same bed all night long?
How rude. To think that I would do such a thing with the father I respected so much. I won't allow you to say such things. Natsuhi, use the red truth to counter this blue truth. Of course, since you aren't a witch, there's no red that you can use. So I'll speak with the red truth in your place. At least, I will if you can show me convincing proof. How could such proof even exist? How low are you willing to sink to mock me? Damn it!
Natsuhi tried to attack Erika, but Ava pinned her arms behind her back so she couldn't do anything.
How unsightly. In order to take revenge against the Ushiromiya family, you first schemed to take control of everything the family owned. For that reason, you used your body as a weapon and ensnared Kinzo-san.
I never did anything of the sort.
You sure?
I have never given my body to anyone except my husband.
You sure? You sure that's a fact, Natsuhi? I understand why you want to deny it, but testimony from several witnesses has already made it clear that you had repeated secret meetings with Kinzo-san. After all, last night, you went to say goodnight to Kinzo-san with just the two of you alone in his study, right? And beyond that, I've collected multiple bits of testimony regarding clear traces of sexual intercourse.
Are you insane? Who was it? Who said something so ridiculous? Goda? Shannon? Was it Ava-san? Yes, you must be behind something this ludicrous. Who was it? Who? Ah! I've received testimony from those involved. Wow, this is pretty fatal. No room for doubt now.
Hey, Natsuhi. Looks like you don't even have a scrap of honor left now, but I'll give you one final chance before I build you the worst of all possible fragments. Go ahead and say that Kinzo wasn't there, okay?
That's right, you sure are stubborn, Natsuhi. The Ushiromiya family has already been torn to ribbons, right? Are you really that desperate to confuse the inheritance problem by pretending Kinzo exists? This is my final challenge in protecting the honor of the Ushiromiya family, which Father entrusted me with. My husband's business will definitely succeed. Until we can use that to repay our debts, I cannot hand over the inheritance of the Ushiromiya family. I will protect Father and my husband's honor. That is my mission. Wanting to protect the honor of the dead is an admirable trait.
He is not one of the dead. We're talking about the honor of a convenient delusion inside of Natsuhi's head. The real Kinzo never once ordered Natsuhi to protect that honor.
Ah!
As Natsuhi screamed, she fell down to her hands and knees. She no longer had any way to reject the fake truth that Burncastle and Erica had weaved.
By my name is the Game Master, Lambda Delta. I acknowledge Lady Burncastle as the victor of this game. If anyone has any objections, state your name now.
The witch's gallery empty. Of course there were none. All of those who might have objected had been erased.
No objections. Burn, this is your victory, and a wonderful victory it is. Now you must weave up the fragment of the truth.
Sure. I'll go weave up the truth. This is the truth of this sad, pathetic tale. Though I did want Natsuhi to acknowledge her crime while half laughing, half crying. After all, that's standard in the genre, right? That was a fucking 3.5 hour recording session. And we started it at 10, so it's now past 2 in the morning with the break in the middle. This was a mistake. Why did we do this?
Because this was a fucking awesome logic battle? Why the hell else?
Yeah, the thing that gets me about to this is the glaring inconsistency. That she sees Rosa alive at 1 a.m., but insists she must have died before that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have a lot to think on.
We sure do.
Yeah. If it wasn't clear, this episode and the last one were recorded in the same session, so we haven't really had too much time to process everything. So when we come back for the next episode, we'll have a moment where we sit down and think about stuff. Until then, don't schedule recording sessions for 10 p.m. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Goodbye. So, this is the first time we've had a good solid time to think about stuff since 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
So let's have a moment. Let's talk about that huge last scene that we recorded in one big burst. Holy shit. So, despite everything, Natsuhi is clearly not the culprit.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were talking about this at the end. It seems weird that Ava and Erica had been conniving to work with each other.
Yeah.
On this, right?
Although they're perfect. They're perfect partners
They're
in
perfect
crime.
for one another. One of the things I noticed is I was watching a friend of the channel, Raina's stream of Umineko, and they're replaying it with a friend. They're currently in chapter 1. I was watching their playthrough, and they got through one of the scenes in episode 1 where it seems Ava's trying the exact same tactic on Natsuhi. She's trying to pin Natsuhi to get her to admit that grandfather is not there. Because she's pulling the receipt trick. That seems to be what her point is. She just wants her to prove that grandfather's not there. I don't think she's the one that does the murders here.
Yeah.
I think she conspires with Erica to make sure that they can prove grandfather isn't there, but I don't think she does any of the murders. I don't think we have any reason to suspect she's the murderer yet.
I also think it's interesting to think about Erica's motives.
Right.
We had already talked about in the previous episodes how that she's the detective and can't be the culprit, but that doesn't mean she can't be an accomplice, and it doesn't mean she's telling the truth.
Exactly.
But also, excuse me. But also, if she was just aiming to expose the Ushiromiya's secrets, Natsuhi's secrets, and prove that Kinzo was dead, she could have done that already. And if she was just looking to pin the crime on Natsuhi, she could have just done that already. But she very much didn't. She very much took the most long, drawn-out, humiliating, awful, circuitous route to blaming Natsuhi.
Yeah,
just dragging her through the mud and tearing apart everything she cares about and loves over and over and over and over again. Just raw cruelty.
Yeah, it wasn't proving a point. It was to humiliate Natsuhi. And if we're looking at it the same way we look at the murders, where they're clearly done for Battler's benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're done to send the message to Battler. This seemed like sending a message to Natsuhi.
The message being, fuck you in particular.
Yeah, but I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
But either way, I think we're in agreement that Erica seems to be an accomplice. She can't be the culprit. We got that in red, so we're going to have to... She won't be the person who's doing the killings, but she's certainly aiding.
Her actions are extremely fucking suspicious.
Mm-hmm. Those were the big takeaways I think we got from that. Because that was an exhausting... We recorded that all in like 1 4-hour... The last 2 episodes entirely 1 4-hour chunk, so in with a very short break in the recording break there. So we barely had time to even think about and process everything that had been happening there.
Yep.
Holy shit. I'm still thinking about the part where we called Bernie and Lambda having popcorn and hanging out.
Yeah.
Although, given the way it was written, it's more like that's what everyone else thought about it too, so that became how it is. That seems like very much a direct response to the readers. Anyway, aren't you glad at the beginning of all that I made you listen to 5 minutes of me explaining the plot of a seemingly irrelevant mystery book? I know
yeah.
I am.
I'm glad. It'll come back around. It'll be relevant.
And one other thing, because we mentioned at the time,
just one more thing.
The scene where Ava is getting angry at Natsuhi, Natsuhi is being cornered and fingered as the culprit. The music that was used for that, Discolor, is a ZTS track. It's fucking amazing. That is one of the best musical moments of this entire game so far. This game has had a lot of phenomenal music, and a lot of music that's great in a vacuum, but that is one of the moments where I'm like, the music sells this. If not for the music, this would not work. And it was something else. I just needed to reiterate how beautiful that was. All right.
Do we think Ava really thinks Natsuhi is the murderer here?
I think Ava might have been convinced.
Okay.
I think what we came down on was we think Ava's plan going onto the island is to get Natsuhi to admit that Kinzo is dead.
I mean, we don't just think that. We know that.
We know that's part of it. But I think that's the extent of it. I don't think she wants to murder anyone when she gets on the island. Though we see that she obviously has the capacity to do so in Chapter 3. I don't think that's necessarily what she's coming on the island to do.
In fact, I think it makes a lot more sense if the killings have nothing to do with either side of the Kinzo conspiracy here, either with Ava trying to expose it or Natsuhi trying to hide that away, because somebody like, say, someone among the serving staff knowing that this shit is going off, it's the perfect environment to do a bunch of murders and have the two sides all blame each other and have it all get mixed up with this other different plot that's going on that's irrelevant, so nobody can figure out what the fuck's going on. And if you, say, want to ruin Battler's life forever in a very special and awful way, for example, if that's something that you wanted to do, it'd be a good time to do that.
Yep. Yeah, it would. Let's get into it.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before we do that, we've got tips.
Do we?
We didn't get one for Kraus. Right? This is different.
Oh, yeah. That is new.
Nah, I was murdered sometime after the early morning phone call from which Natsuhi learned that I was still alive. My corpse was not found, but my death was guaranteed by Burncastle with the red truth.
We got Hideyoshi's.
We did get Hideyoshi's?
Yeah, everybody else here.
Everyone else
What
we
about
got?
the magic side? I was hoping that either Magical Battler or Magical Beato were now
Moided?
because of what happened last episode.
Yeah, not quite. All right.
What's in the tips?
Eisern Young... What? One of the repentance of enforcement agencies supervised by the Great Court of Heaven, and its area of jurisdiction is the 7th District. It's made up of 7 Inquisitors of Heresy. Of course there are. There's more of them. There's more of these fuckers.
Of course they're exactly 7.
With the first-class Archbishop Delanor at their head, and several assistant inquisitors. This body is tasked with performing heresy interrogations, carrying out executions, and sometimes bestowing redemption. However, in almost all cases, the Great Court of Heaven considers sending them only after the completion of a heresy interrogation and a tentative guilty verdict. So they are, practically speaking, no different than an execution squad. Their spectacular achievements are great in number, and they're extremely well known even among the other agencies. Other famous enforcement agencies include the SSVD of the 8th District. I don't know what that is. It is rumored that this group's leader, Wizard Hunting Wright, also known as the 20 Wedges, is even more powerful than Delanor.
Phoenix Wright.
Do.
The only entity more powerful than Delanor
Is Phoenix goddamn right? What's real?
I'm sure it's probably a reference to a mystery novel thing or something instead, I guess.
I don't know. After that entire last chapter was a reference to the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney case structure. Right down to Battler coming in with no plan and just throwing out stuff and seeing what sticks. The big difference being that when Battler tries it, it fails. Unlike with Nick, wherever time he goes into court without knowing what he's doing, he can always find a way to make it work. So, the Red Key. A weapon for emergencies used by official inquisitors of heresy belonging to Eisern Jungfrau. Delanor's primary weapon. Unlike a normal weapon whose purpose is to cause physical damage, this special tool is known as a conceptual weapon, and it is used to deny the existence of concepts. Regardless of whether the target is physical, mental, or conceptual, it is impossible to use any defensive concept, such as physical barriers, mental quarantine, or conceptual inheritance, to defend against this weapon. Because the concepts themselves are denied, even the concept of resisting an attack does not exist, and it is impossible for the target to endure regardless of their stamina. Furthermore, all supernatural methods of buying time, such as teleportation, time travel, revivals, and inheritance, are impossible. Because denials of concepts conform to verdict procedures dictated by the Great Court, all future concepts that disobey them will be denied automatically. In addition, when the Red Key operates within a complete barrier, all concepts of evasion cannot be successful. Defense is impossible, evasion is impossible, buying time is impossible. This ultimate conceptual weapon is the embodiment of these 3 impossibilities. A strict investigation by the Great Court of Heaven is required for the use of the Red Key. Because of this, the very act of dispatching Delanor, who arms herself with it, is equivalent to a death sentence. In this world, Senator Lambda Delta has placed restrictions on its use and power.
She has a Senate seat now. Damn.
Didn't she in the last one? I thought it was with her endorsement as a senator that Beatrice even became witch in the first place.
Oh, I didn't remember if... I didn't know she was in Congress. Wow. What's her platform?
Okay, that's what we're doing.
Which committees do you think Lambda sits on?
Ways and Means.
Wait, isn't Ways and Means in the House?
Ways and Means. The Blue Key, the primary weapon used by official inquisitors of heresy belonging to Eisern Jungfrau. Like the Red Key, it is a conceptual weapon, but instead of denying the existence of concepts, it is used to create self-doubt and force others to deny themselves. For this reason, it is called the Blue Key of Reflection, in contrast with the Red Key of Judgment. Unlike the Red Key, it is possible to evade and defend against it. However, while the Red Key has severe restrictions regarding how it can be used, the Blue Key can be wielded with great ease and manipulated at will in all situations. Furthermore, because the shapes of conceptual weapons are themselves purely conceptual, their outward appearance differs depending on the Inquisitor using them. In Delanor's case, they appear as a long sword and a short sword, but some use them in the form of spears or guns, while others make them take shape as phenomena such as magic or miracles. The red and blue charms used by Gertrude and Cornelia are yet another shape taken by these keys.
Now we know a little bit more about the red and the blue.
Yep.
I'm glad we checked.
Me too. After being forced into a marriage she hadn't wanted, Natsuhi developed a grudge against the Ushiromiya family and was filled with a desire for revenge. From the trial synopsis, page 3. Natsuhi, also hoping to take revenge for the financial submission her parents' family had been forced into by the Ushiromiyas, schemed to capture the Ushiromiya family's wealth. From the trial synopsis, page 4. Knowing that the wealth of the Ushiromiya family was, in practical terms, under Kinzo's personal control, she initiated sexual relations to curry favor with him and managed to ensnare him. From the trial synopsis, page 7. From the Bernkastel docs, page 682. To curry favor with Kinzo, Natsuhi repeatedly imitated Beatrice, the witch of Kinzo's delusions, and engaged in sexual acts. Kinzo saw his long-lost mistress in Natsuhi and was easily ensnared. Furthermore, by chance, she was sometimes witnessed in this guise by the servants, and this became part of the foundation of the legend of the Golden Witch. From the trial synopsis, page 8. From presented evidence, number 17. From the Bernkastel documents, page 802. Shoutouts to the 802, by the way. You know who you are. However, late at night on October 4th, 1986, Ushiromiya Battler discovered the hidden gold. The relatives were in an uproar and decided that Battler should succeed the headship, so Natsuhi planned the crime. She murdered the children in the so-called cousin room and tried to frame Battler for the crime. Furthermore, Genji was murdered for opposing this scheme. Later on, Hideyoshi was also murdered. From this point on, she displayed the strong intent to indiscriminately murder all those involved. From the trial synopsis, page 27. From supplemental materials, B, page 61. From the Bernkastel documents, page 1103. The following outlines the details of the crime. 2400, October 4th, 1986. Natsuhi decided to commit the crime. She asked Genji to assist her but was refused, so she murdered him. She then murdered her husband Kraus in his own room. The trial synopsis, page 40. From supplemental materials, S, page 8. From the Bernkastel documents, page 1105. From the GC Internal Docs, General Affairs A09, number 9974. What does GC mean here?
I don't know.
Afterwards, she went to the so-called cousin room on the second floor of the guest house, waited for Rosa to join the rest, and killed George, Jessica, Maria, and Rosa. She damaged the necks of those corpses. Afterwards, because there were people in the lounge on the first floor, she waited in an empty room on the second floor. She hid in this empty room until the people in the lounge dispersed and went to bed. From the trial synopsis, page 41. From supplemental materials, S, page 10. From the Bernkastel documents, page 1131. From GC Internal Documents, General Affairs, A09, number 9974. The people in the lounge dispersed just after 3 a.m. Natsuhi left the empty room and escaped from the guest house. She returned to her personal room where she met up with Kinzo, who had been hiding there. She stayed there until morning. No! Kinzo left the room early.
Change the world, my final message.
Kinzo left the room early next morning and concealed himself somewhere near the guest house. From the trial synopsis, page 41. From supplemental materials, S, page 29. From the Bernkastel documents, page 1200. From GC Internal Documents, General Affairs A09, number 9974. Afterwards, Kinzo saw his chance and carried off the corpses of the 6 victims one by one, hiding them. Unfortunately, these hidden corpses have not been found. From the trial synopsis, page 42. From supplemental materials, S, page 37. From GC Internal Documents, General Affairs, A09, number 9974.
Is fucking Ryukishi mocking us for taking a zillion pages of cross-referenced notes on what happened and still getting it extremely wrong in a way that seems plausible?
He was certainly mocking us for paying attention only to the red and not the white.
Yep.
In the like Erica's whole breakdown about how she only pays attention to the red, and whatever they say in white can't be trusted. That whole scene about ignoring that stuff, that was clearly calling out the players who fixate too much on the red to the exclusion of what's happening in the white text.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised if, he is kind of tearing us a new one here. Natsuhi, who had failed in her scheme to cast suspicion on Battler, changed her plan to include the murder of all present. From the trial synopsis, page 58. From supplemental materials, T, page 19. From the Burncastle documents, page 1348. From GC Internal Documents, General Affairs, A09, number 9974. Predicting that one of those present would eventually want to take a rest in a private room, Natsuhi concealed herself inside a closet in one of the guest rooms. At about 1 p.m., she murdered Hideyoshi after he entered that room. From the trial synopsis, page 61. From supplemental materials, T, page 26. From GC Internal Documents, General Affairs, A09, number 9974. I'm going to get so tired of saying that. From the time the others became aware of the incident to the time they carried Hideyoshi's corpse out, Natsuhi once again concealed herself in the closet. Furthermore, as proof of this, a button from Natsuhi's clothes was found in the closet. Afterwards, she left the closet and tried to return to her room. However, Furudo Erika found and questioned her first, and she confessed to the crime.
That didn't happen.
I did, eventually. It's just they yada-yada'd over a lot of it. From
Wait,
the trial
what?
synopsis, page 63.
She never confessed to any crime.
Yeah, but Erika would write it that way.
Yeah.
From supplemental materials, T, page 32. From presented evidence, number 26. From the Burncastle documents, page 1348. From the Lambda Delta documents, line 7.
Lamau, Lambda Delta just wrote out like a couple sentences and is like, yeah, I'm bored of this. This is all the docs I want to write. Guilty.
Yeah, whereas Burncastle is like, what if I just made everything meticulous and... Yeah.
I declare you cute, pop, and guilty.
Oh man, old Ace Attorney.
I declare you cute, pop, and guilty.
I've got to try that one out. Ooh. From GC Internal Documents, General Affairs, A09, number 9974. From GC Internal Documents, first subsection U99, number 0107. From GC Official Notice, number 01724434. Sorry, for a moment there, that I thought that was the same number we had seen her. It's not, but I thought, because it started with the 0 and the... it's not, though. GC Official Notice number 01724434. Due to the result of Illusion Trial number 0147-007982, 2400 October 5th, 1986, we announce that the following has been determined: that Ushiromiya Natsuhi did admit to her crime. For 13 months following this announcement, related documents may be perused at the Great Court Legal Office's Document Management Center, first subsection. Great Court Deputy Chief, Head Inquisitor of Heresy, Delanor A. Knox.
Gee, I'm glad real courts can't use tortured logic to force false confessions out of people and ruin their names forever.
Yeah, that would be pretty fucked up, wouldn't it? Could you imagine? Like, imagine not being innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, I'm glad that only happens here in Witchworld and not in real life.
Yeah.
Then let's all assume that I did it, okay? That's what you want me to say, right? Ah.
As though she'd given up and decided that it'd be useless to try to talk her way out of this any longer, Aunt Natsuhi screamed that out. It was a sad incident. I wanted to believe that, despite the pitiable circumstances that led her to her marriage into the Ushiromiya family, Natsuhi just might have been able to grasp a sliver of happiness together with Uncle Kraus and Jessica.
What sliver of happiness do when it enters the battlefield?
All slivers gain lifelink.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
sliver tribal. It still rocks. However, by Aunt Natsuhi's own doing, Uncle Kraus, and even her beloved daughter Jessica, had been heartlessly killed. It was even harder to believe that grandfather had been an accomplice and hid the corpses. However, judging by the clear testimony given by several people who knew him, grandfather's mental state for these last few years had been far from what anyone would consider normal. Perhaps possessed by a mad devotion to the mistress he had lost long ago, who was programmer Beatrice for some reason, grandfather might truly have believed that Aunt Natsuhi was the reincarnation of Beatrice. Where is grandfather now? Like Erica had theorized, did he really believe that he could revive Beatrice by carrying out murders following the epitaph? Succumbing to Natsuhi's cajolery? Right now, is he holding some kind of disturbing ceremony with the bodies he carried away?
Are you satisfied now? This is what you wanted to make me say, right?
Aunt Natsuhi sobbed as she spoke.
This is your revenge, isn't it? You, the man from 19 years ago.
This man from 19 years ago that Aunt Natsuhi kept mentioning was supposedly someone who had caught her in some sort of trap. However, she only had mentioned that this man from 19 years ago existed, and she most certainly hadn't tried to explain what had happened 19 years ago.
I'm sure that man's underling is one among us here.
Oh, hey, she said it. Guys, she said the word. Do. Yeah, that was pretty poppin' cute.
I'm sure that right now that man is ridiculing me through one of you.
Check the vents. Maybe you should call an emergency meeting. Wait, which one of us is wearing red? I bet oh no, my hair is red.
Then tell me, are you happy now? Has a bit of that pain and suffering you've endured for 19 years gone away? I finally understand. The reason you've cornered me so far is because you wanted to make me acknowledge that, right?
Natsuhi-san, other than us, there's absolutely no one here. So please stop this insanely desperate charade and quit pretending that someone who doesn't exist actually does.
Erica laughed mockingly, but as Aunt Natsuhi looked at us, no, she looked at some being behind us. She hung her head and shook. Then she confessed to her sin.
I committed murder.
So you finally acknowledge your crime directly.
No, this is not about what has happened today and yesterday. I will confess to a murder that occurred 19 years ago. So you called it there.
Yes,
She definitely did the
she
murder.
absolutely did that murder. The adults all whispered together, wondering what this was about. Because they had never heard about a murder case 19 years ago.
19 years ago, I committed a sin. I couldn't forgive it. That baby.
Baby? Now what are you talking about?
On that day 19 years ago, Father entrusted me with a baby. Since I still couldn't bear a successor on my own, Father told me to adopt a child, and he made me hold a baby that he said had been brought here from an orphanage.
And again, that makes the connection between Kinzo and Fukuin House all that more sus.
Do you have any idea how humiliating that was to me as a woman?
With a mix of conflicting emotions of anger, sadness, regret, and possibly defiance, Aunt Natsuhi confessed. Her humiliation as a woman when she was no longer expected to bear a child, and also the indescribably unpleasant feeling of being made to hold an unfamiliar baby. It caused her great sadness and rage. And before very many nights had passed, it ate a hole into her heart.
And then I sold my soul to demons. It happened when I went on a walk through the rose garden to the harbor, along with a servant holding the baby. I wanted to be alone, but that female servant holding the baby faithfully followed me everywhere. I was unable even to tell her to stop following me, and therefore unable to escape from the child's crying. That day marked the beginning of 19 long, headache-filled years. Then we faced the cliff from across the fence. If by taking that baby and throwing it down onto the rocky beach far below me, I could undo it all, I really did listen to that demon's temptation. Then, for the smallest of moments, I thought of how wonderful it would be if I really could do that, and lent an ear to that temptation. At that time, the servant holding the baby stepped on a large rock, twisted her ankle, and staggered. She leaned against the rough fence, and at that time I thought I heard the fence creak loudly. I told her to look out and tried to grab her shoulder. No, I shouldn't be so vague. I'll repent. I'll confess. At that moment, I'm sure that as I told her to look out, with both hands I reached for that servant's shoulder and, with a thud, pushed her away hard. The rough fence snapped from the base, and the servant, along with the baby she held in her arms, fell down toward the rocky beach below. Even though I remember that moment vividly, for some reason I recall a vague and very strange feeling. It almost felt as though instead of falling, the two of them were silently swallowed up into empty space, so I didn't even hear the sound of them crashing to the rocky beach. No, I'm sure I heard it, but because I wanted to think that they disappeared, I must have erased that sound from my memory.
And then?
For an instant, I thought it was a dream. It was high enough that I couldn't see the two of them below me just by leaning over, so I didn't know whether their fall, or the few seconds before that, had actually happened or not. I must have been wishing so strongly that the child would fall that I just had a daydream. Trying to make myself believe this, I hurried back to the rose garden. Then I decided to let the servant take care of the baby, choosing to take a rest alone in the garden. Then, Father asked what had happened to the baby, and an uproar began over the disappearance of the servant who had been in charge of it. Eventually, the broken fence was discovered, and the two corpses were found at the bottom of the cliff. The child had apparently been here for reasons that couldn't become known, so its existence was hushed up. And the official story was that the servant had had an accident on her own and died. That's right, I stole away 2 innocent lives in one go. As for the poor servant, her family was graciously compensated. Her aged husband, who didn't know the truth, accepted this even though he grieved over the unfortunate accident. Then, just a few years ago, he died of old age, and I confessed the truth over his grave, apologizing. But until this day, I have never apologized to that baby. Yes, that's what you're after, isn't it? So right here, right now, I'll confess to my crime. I, Ushiromiya Natsuhi, did 19 years ago push you off a cliff and try to kill you. But you didn't die, did you? You're still alive, and you still call me mother. You came to this island and took your revenge on me, didn't you? For these 19 years, you knew that the one you should have called your mother pushed you off a cliff, and you must have lived a very hate-filled life. And now you've taken everything I've gained since pushing you off that cliff, 18 years of my life, and smashed it all to pieces. I no longer have my beloved husband and daughter, and I've lost even my honor, and am being called a murderer. No, I really am a murderer, aren't I? Yes, that's right. It all went according to your plans. I'm now regarded as a killer? How's that? Is this enough for your revenge? My husband and daughter have been killed. I've been made to look like a murderer, like an adulteress even. After seeing me living in disgrace like this, are you satisfied? Yes, I'll bet you're quite satisfied. Because my family, my honor, everything has been stolen from me.
After all this, do you still claim that you were framed? Seriously, you just don't know when to give up.
Can you hear me? You, the cursed child from 19 years ago. Are you satisfied now? You've stolen everything from me now. What else could you want? Please, just forgive me.
There's no way Erica is. No.
No way, Erica's what?
No.
The kid?
Yeah. No. It's useless, isn't it?
Huh?
Battler, son. Did you say something? Sorry, I'm coming down off of a really big high right now, so I'm still kind of feeling it out. We're in the parlor, right? Just, I feel like this is my first minutes being fully cognizant in about 6 hours.
Me too. I feel like I died.
Yeah, that happens to the best of us, man.
It's all useless.
Battler-kun?
Yeah. It's useless, isn't it? It's all useless.
Ah! What the hell?
What the hell?
Interesting. So we get an early end to this game. I'm really curious what the tea party is going to be like.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, I'm going to have to probably append this to the last step. Oh, it depends
There's
on how
tea
long-
parties.
Yeah, there's tea parties.
Yeah.
What a weird-ass ending, huh?
Yeah, damn.
Huh. Alive at the time of game suspension. Hey, everyone lives on this one. That's cool.
We don't know that. We just know the game's suspended. Maybe
True.
they all get murdered right after.
True. Huh. God, I can't believe there's 5 more of these fuckers.
Yeah.
God, that S looks like a J on Satan.
Jayton. Yeah.
Jayton.
Jeans, Satan.
Right? Oh my god.
All of the goats.
Hey, all of you watching this episode, you're the goats.
You're all of the goats.
Got 'em. End of the Golden Witch. God, that chapter felt shorter, didn't it?
It really did.
I know that the answer arcs in general are shorter than the question arcs, but still, that did feel short. And then again, we also couldn't stop playing.
Yeah, because that's Umineko for you.
Yeah, the problem is we couldn't stop playing, so we've recorded so far in advance. This episode isn't going out until over 2 weeks after we record it, which is kind of great. We just got an achievement called The Answer, featuring Natsuhi. That was the image.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.